Diclofenac, can you hear me? I think
Maybe
Diclofenac must be having problems.
let Ndovu go. We can let Ndovu speak.
Yeah, Ndovu karibu. I think Diclofenac is having a problem with his mic.
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak on your space. I hope it can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you. Just get a bit closer to your mic.
Thank you. Yeah, my point was I had a speaker talking about what happened in 1963, and he was talking about, how the leadership of messed since 1963, how the country has been messed by our leaders. But I just had a thought that, time have changed. The time have moved. We are not still in 1963 at the moment. We are now in 2025. And the things that happened in 1963 cannot still be happening now. And we think these are the problems that have been brought down from that time. Yeah, it's a time that we need to change our country. And then the other thing is about this about Ruto must go. I think this is the right time for him to go. If at all there is an impeachment that can happen, which I see it like it's very close, that can happen in a way. It will be easier for him to go through impeachment rather than even an election. So I hope the ODM party will continue pressing for their majority majority in the parliament, so that we can continue, pushing for these things to happen. Because if they are the majority, then they can bring their own leader to be in executive office. So again, we need the opposition. As far as I know, some of the people from the opposition joined the government, so they are partly in opposition and partly in a government. So we don't have like a strong opposition. So if we have a strong opposition, that also will help our country, because we are just looking at what can we do to make our country a better place, and without this man Ruto, who is messing up the place. We don't care whoever go there, as long as if they can bring him down and bring him out, that will be the best for our country. That's my take for now.
Thank you, Ndovu. I will ask George, because I see George. I intentionally plan to close with women on our space. So Rebecca, if you're hearing, if you see Wanjiro, I know she's requested for the mic. Please try and admit her to the panel so that we can close with her for the panelists. So George, I'll give you an opportunity to speak. I'll give you 2 minutes. So karibu sana to the mic.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you everyone who is here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, George. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I'm seeing what we are talking about, majority is minority, and for me, as far as the AU seat is concerned, just like before and now, I can just tell you, I don't have a comment on it, because for me, looking at it, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of Kenyans' resources, and it's just serving a few individuals. It still goes to just your topic. It's majority is minority. The people pushing it is just the same. people who are taking care of themselves. Majority's minority is just a power play by politicians and lawmakers. The current laws that are being made in Kenya are made, number one, by people who know nothing about the law itself, and they just power elites who are taking care of themselves, making laws to take care of their wealth. Even the power play that is going on in parliament right now, I'm hearing people say Ruto must be impeached. And I'm wondering that we are not. I remember Redemptor one day talked about this pattern, that we are not listening to the pattern of how this country is being led. They have a particular pattern. You know, the Odingas, the Kenyattas, the Mois, now Ruto, because also we can put him there because even him, he has children who are now breaking the law, has gone into businesses and they're just breaking the law left. And so he's also gone into the cabal. So those people are not for anyone. They are self-serving, they're manipulative, they make economic policies that favor them and the few, and they have formed a legal impunity process and people around them who are so powerful, and they are doing it, and they've already divided the majority. It's now, you don't know whether it's a majority, it's a minority. We don't even know who is opposition, who is not opposition. We don't even know whether opposition was ever there or not. So it has come back to his own words, a mongrel. I remember when he was fighting for this seat and was still lying to everybody else. He once called Huru's government a mongrel. I don't know what his government is now. So for me, to just finish is that I've got no interest in AU. I've got no interest in what Ruto says in this cabal. I have interest in what somebody has said. We need to support a different power base, and we need to call in people. And everyone coming to tell us they want to be presidents. Number one, they must all share their personal ambitions first. They need to unite. And unity in purpose will give us an alternative. There is no hope in all these people are talking about. And Ruto is not going to be impeached because he has swallowed the parliament. Sifuna alone is not gonna. Sifuna and PK Salasi alone are not going to push Ruto out of power. The people who will push Ruto out of power are people at that parliament. I submit.
Thank you, George, for being short and precise and very categorical in your views. And I appreciate your thought process that we need a whole change in our system. We did this intentionally, and just before I give Hannah the speaker panel, I'd like to recognize Nonini. Thank you for your support, for always coming to the space to support the conversations of Kenyans. You've also done a very great job in music, so just to appreciate your presence in the space. So thank you for always turning up to show your support. Hannah, I give you the opportunity. I'll give you 2 minutes for your opening and closing submission. The host had really directed us to try and close the space by past the hour, but because we see women on the space, it's always important to try and end the space with some sound voices. So karibu sana Hannah, make your opening and closing remarks.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is listening well. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, cool. I had somebody talk about the new model that he has put in place, but what I have not heard is somebody who is going to explain to me how we are going to secure the three arms of government. For example, when you look at the money, the paper money that we have, it has a security feature whereby it is impossible. Same applies to the passport. it's very hard for anybody to make a copy of it without knowing the security features. And this is what is lacking in the three arms of government. That is why it is very easy for the government, the executive, to take the initiative and just circumvent all the, legislative or judiciary arm of government. So I would love to have a detailed idea on how we're going to put or how we're going to make sure that these three arms of government, despite the people that we are going to be putting them may be legally, not even legally, let's say they have been voted in or they have been chosen by the people, that they cannot be able to use this arms of government to their own proper initiative. It is not what they were given the mandate to do. So how are we going to do this? And I would love that to be even a topic whereby we are going to talk about, because there's three arms of government. They are supposed to be apart and they should be working together. But now they're not working up. They are working together and not apart, like the way they are supposed to be. And there comes the problem whereby the executive now changes even the system itself and is misusing the system that we are supposed to be having, which is supposed to be secure to the people of Kenya, and changing the arms, not only the arms, but the CS positions and the places the CSS are doing their work. So we need to have these security features, and this I will not even say in a very low way, but if we talk about it and if we find a good way of how to make sure that we put the system well, and I will be very, very happy, because I do not mind even to be taken to be guided by a president who looks like a goat, who thinks like a goat, but at least the systems work, and it will not affect the people of Kenya like the way the president of Ruto is doing by overtaxing and changing the education model and other systems also. Thank you very much. I'll keep it to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Very interesting. I think I posed a challenge to Daguin to share his thought process and his ideology so that we can have a more detailed look at it. I look forward, if he shares the same, then I think we can engage on this probably in the next space and see how his ideology looks like and what we can help build it, or how we can help restructure it so that it makes sense to a lot of people. So Daguin, I know he's on the listeners panel, so I look forward to receiving the pitch from you so that we can have a more detailed discussion on it. Redemptor, I see Wanjiro dropped. I think she might be having an issue with her connection. If I'm well guided, with your permission, I probably would like to start closing the space by giving Chalo his closing remarks. So Chalo, karibu sana to the speaker panel. The mic is yours. Please give your closing remarks.
Good evening again, guys. So as we depart, and some of us go to our beds, and some of us go back to burning the midnight oil, doing the research and putting in the work, I just want to say, all it's worth this fight. We must win this battle, and I know a better Kenya is there, and I can see it, and most of you can dream about it. But the same will not be achieved without us putting in any effort. No matter how little you see that the effort that you've been putting in doesn't feature anywhere, trust me, in the long term it will reflect. So thank you guys. Keep up the good work. And yeah, Ruto must go.
Thank you, Chalo. We've heard from very many speakers, so I'll start my closing submission by thanking all of you who came to the space. I'll reserve a special apology to John Seremani for not being able to accept your mic request, simply because we are trying to close the space, being a weekday. I know people have commitments. People have, early mornings, and some have late nights because of the different hassles, if I could call them, that we are doing. So I reserve that apology for you. But I do encourage you that next time when we have this space, we always have this space on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So feel free to come on time. We normally start at 8 p.m. Kenyan local time. So you're always welcome to come on board and request the mic as early as possible so that we might give you an opportunity to speak. So I do apologize for not being able to allow you on the speaker panel just because we are trying to close. In response to a couple of the different views I've had tonight, myself, I think I'll close by first starting to ask all Kenyans to be bold enough to mention names of all these politicians where you feel they have failed. And I say this specifically because one of our speakers, Yasa, was finding it very hard to mention that, Cherargei had said that Okiya Omtata requires 7 billion to run a presidential campaign. And the reason why I say it is important for you to be bold and say their names is because I believe that when you base your conversation and your conviction on fact, then you have nothing to apologize about. It is something he said. It is something he has posted on his social media page. It's even on his X account till today. So there's nothing that you should fear by saying what he said, because you're just calling out the kind of rhetoric that these politicians keep saying. And I believe that that also gives you power to be able to question all these people who call themselves honorable, who call themselves leaders, because at bare minimum, when they asked for these jobs, because these are jobs, these are not rights, these are not privileges, this is not royalty. These are jobs that they asked for from the electorate and from the sovereign, who is you and I. When they asked for these jobs, they had an expectation that they were supposed to perform to our satisfaction or to our criticism. Those are the two parameters. So when you ask for a job, when you go for an interview, typically when you get the job, you're expected to deliver. If you don't deliver, you have two options. You either pull up your socks or you get fired. Those are the parameters we operate with within this country and all around the world. So it should not be any different with these politicians. It should be very clear. And the reason why I stopped calling them honorable, and people wonder why I say that, it's not because I disrespect them. But guess what? A very simple fact is that their names on their national identification cards, which is the uh, internationally accepted document of identification, has no honorable on their names. It doesn't have all those titles, EGH, honor of the OBS, honor of the burning spear. It does not have all those titles. It just has their names. So because it has their names, there is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong in calling them by their names, because that is who the government recognizes them as, that is who their parents recognize them as. And it is important for us to have that boldness and no fear to say, when they say something is wrong, please feel free to say their names, because it is important that you, as the sovereign, remember that you gave them the job and you have the right to take it back when they do not perform. Also, in closing, because I want to be a bit more optimistic than usual, I believe that Kenya is turning a new page, if not already turned a new page. And I specifically and categorically stopped engaging with any talk of the AUC chairmanship for Raila, simply because I do believe that if you're supporting his candidature for AUC, then you forget the very simple fact that if he did not deliver for us as Kenyans, do you really believe he will deliver for any African? Very simple question. And so my positive aspect for this evening is that I am happy to see that more and more of people are coming to these spaces and have the boldness to speak their minds, speak their emotions. And even when Charlo says that he is very frustrated, I do really understand the frustration. And I do really appreciate when you admit that you're frustrated, because that is part and parcel of the path that we will take in order to heal this country. Because this country, unfortunately to say, requires a lot of healing. And that is the only way we'll start healing, by admitting that we are frustrated, we are angry, we are disappointed. We have a whole lot of feelings because we had hope. And some of that hope has been shattered. Some of that hope has turned into nightmares because of abductions and harassment and police brutality. And so we'll keep up this voice. We'll keep up the voices, we'll keep up the spaces for as long as it takes, because Kenyans need to talk. And for as long as Kenyans exist, we will always be here to support anyone who needs the help and anyone who needs a platform to converse. So I thank you all for coming on board to speak. Wanjira, I also apologize if you had a connection issue. We would have loved to close with you as a female speaker because you do a lot also on spaces. But I do hand back to my host, Redemptor, thanking her for the effort she does in reminding us that in this journey, there have been people who've been affected, their faces and their names and their families that should never be forgotten in this struggle, because it is important and it is very crucial, because they are the foundation of why we always want a better Kenya. Because it is very sad to see mothers crying on TV, looking for their sons, burying their children, because I think in our Kenyan society, I'm a Bantu myself, but I do believe this also crosses the Kushites and Nilotes, that for a parent, the greatest honor is you being buried by your children and not the other way around. So I believe there are broken hearts for parents who have to bury their children because they've been taken too soon, not because of any illness, but because of brutality that they cannot really understand, and no one will ever give them an answer that will be enough for them. So Redemptor, thank you for the effort you keep doing. I will always support your endeavors in having these conversations for as long as you have the strength, and for as long as you want to have this conversation. Then I will always be happy to co-host. I'll always be happy to have this conversation with anyone and everyone who's willing to go through the journey. It is a long and hard journey, but we are there for the long run. So over back to you, Redemptor. Thank you for the space tonight, and I wish you all a great night ahead.
Thank you very much. Sijui kama Chalo, you are far from your mic. I have a question, a burning question. Can we classify Muteti as a political prisoner? A man missing for 3 months comes out so petrified, you say he cannot even take a piece. Are we there?
Yes, we already there. We already have a political people who have been targeted politically because of their political ideology. So yeah, he is one of them.
But do you know if he was, people are trying to classify, is it known what Moteti was doing? Because they didn't show a picture. The picture that we saw with LSK was probably his parent, not his family. Does anybody know how he looks like? Is he a young person? Is he an elderly person? This is to humanize him, not to stereotype.
Okay, his picture is there. You can look him up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
354.
Redemptor, I'm just guided that Yasra had posed a question that you were supposed to answer when you're back on the speaker panel. So just a reminder before you close the space.
Yeah. Okay, all right. It was Darwin ndiye amefungua this conversation, and I remember he brought it up when Professor Kibwana was there last time, and these pointers were sovereign power, people power, donated power, and I think it was factors of production and spirituality. And Barabu pointed out that he had forgotten the whole economic component. And then Darwin, tutapeleka our politicians wapi with this breakdown. So Yasa was more interested in how do you educate people, and Chalo is an apologetic akiwaita mafala. I think he was speaking in Swahili. It would not have sounded so bad. Alikuwa anasema mafala nyinyi. Like how do you allow this to keep happening? And come election time, we are already in what is it called? Campaign mode. So Darwin, the world has been changed by people like you who come up with ideas, even discoveries in law of gravity. The world is not flat, and people do not understand how to be actualized. So in terms of education, you're saying education, I am frustrated like Charlo. I mean, I wish I could drop some nasty words sometimes to describe how we react to the things around us, because the politicians that escort the president to campaign and then come and tell us this is not a campaign. Uh, Someone like Farah has spoken again and with a lot very emphatic about the rights of the people in Northeastern, and saying we were there in before Karen Blixen akiandika kitabu ya Out of Africa. What does that have to do with the current injustice? Because you are amplifying your injustice, and because of that voice, people are getting abducted. And thank you, Chalo, for clarifying that we are there where we have political prisoners. I'll finish this by what inspired me to say majority is minority. We know a lot of organizations forbid workplace romances. But when you see people who are having an affair, when you see them in public, even if we try to hide, there's some chemistry, there's some body language that betrays that these people are an item. And I think that's what I saw in Parliament yesterday. They cannot help themselves. I saw it again when my very good friend Senator Onyonka had gone to the studio with Gladys Cholet, I don't know who else, and Boy, and these are people, they are like schoolmates, they are like classmates. When they meet, you see the body language. They are the majority and the minority in parliament, but they are one unit. They've learned to coexist. Their love-hate relationship is they act for you to think they hate each other. The truth is, the citizens are the majority, and the politicians have realized that. And that's why I said, when majority is minority, we actually are the majority. And the young people of this country, they paid a very heavy price to say, we are the majority. The 70% being controlled by the 30% is why the only education YASA we can give people is to keep reminding them that politicians have become so cohesive, they've become one. So who is the official opposition? Is it someone who is officially the opposition, or is it us who keep coming to spaces? So I want to encourage you that it is not going to be going door to door telling people how these things, it's these small conversations of reminding people that those guys are friends. June 2015 scared one Junet Mohammed. His words, he said, I was scared. A lot of them, they still have trauma. They won't tell you. For the first time, they know they can be removed forcefully out of parliament. And I hold these spaces to remind you that those people who are very fatigued can rest. Those people who now wake up to the realities can arise. Daniel, today umenyamaza sana. Daniel, you always talk us about group conscience. Tumeamka, and I don't think tutalala tena. There's going to be a new crop of leaders. It's going to be very hard to get even your very best, the most vocal. I don't want to name names, although umesema tuseme majina zao. It's going to be very hard for them to betray the bond they have. It's going to take your tenacity, your determination to educate 2 people, not 100. And I hear people come to space and I say the people who do the least have highest expectations. They'll come to space and say, we need to start mobilizing. And I keep repeating, no mobilizing is going to be done on these spaces. We hold these spaces for the ones who are mobilizing. They know we are here speaking, but they're on the ground talking. Because if we keep quiet and another Isiolo happens, or Moteti is released, and we can't come here and humanize Moteti and say the man is petrified. And I asked myself a question. Why was he released? He was released to come and scare the rest of us. We refuse to be scared. The people who are political prisoners during Moi's time, the mothers of released political prisoners, some of them were compensated. There's no compensation can give you back your sanity. But we have to come to terms with, if we don't speak, we could still get killed. The young people depend on these conversations going on so that when they go and do something like what happened in the Isiolo, and Wazes come and apologize, then a mzee like me can also say, no, 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 no. Nobody has given you permission to apologize because heckling is not breaking the law. I went to a school where we used to boo the headmistress. Even those of us who are the most obedient girls, we used to shuffle our feet the days we go to the assembly, and the whole school would actually make a sound without opening their mouths and without showing it on their faces. And that's where we are as a nation. There are people who are going to look you straight in the face, but they are making a sound and you're not seeing their lips move. I wish the youth of this country, instead of even going to heckle the president, would just boycott going for those meetings because we also want to keep them safe. And that's one tip I would give. What would happen if these politicians came to those towns and you actually went and assembled somewhere else? Mtatupiwa tear gas, but itakuwa you can go there and say uongo very far from there. The other thing is I saw people who zoomed on themselves when they were doing that. And I keep saying this system is very vindictive. It's become petty. It's shocking what is happening to this in this country. So we still have to tell people self-preservation is your right. So do not put a camera on your face when you go to some of these places, or just don't go. There's other ways of protesting, and we have to figure out how do we murmur without making a single sound. 254, there are days I don't even feel like hosting this space. No, I send you a text message and say, you have the energy for us to do this. And we keep doing it for those people in Isiolo, for the old people who are still missing, so that they know someone is still talking about what happened. I remind politicians because they listen to us. What happens every time Kenyans die? And then you go and wear your expensive suits and you start laughing. Munafikiri tunasikianga aje tukiona mkicheka when people have not even eaten. That's the member of parliament. We see you laughing before the interview. After, actually, when they go for these interviews, it's like a joke, including even when Casmuel and Morara went for that interview. It felt like entertainment. It felt like the media are ticking boxes of what conversations are we going to have. We might just have to cancel some of these conversations. Yes, these are comrades, these are people who've sacrificed, but what does it serve us? To go and speak a lot of English. Let's continue being in spaces where we are sure we don't start second guessing our sanity. Mimi ndio na feel hivyo ama kila mtu ana feel hivyo. On the ground, when you talk to everybody, they will tell you they've never seen such resistance. People are screaming in their hearts, even when they're not moving their lips. And so I always say I host these spaces to encourage people, but also to speak to my age mates, the ones who are in power, to say the majority are saying they want change. So you are the minority. And it's just a matter of time before the youth overrun you. Thank you very much, Wakenya Wazalendo. For those who still believe we have a right to demand for good governance, keep going. For those who are gatekeeping, it's just a matter of time before you overrun and I pray the abductors one day will be abducted. Thank you very much, Wananchi Wazalendo 254. Thank you so much. And yes, I do acknowledge Lynn Ngugi, Mara Bustok, Daniel, Elida, and Nonini, and Agreed, and everybody, even Hannah, Wanjiro. We cannot host this space if you don't come. So we appreciate that you stop everything you're doing. And I think we come here to recharge, to remind each other that young people who died in June last year did not die in vain.